So remember last week when I said not a lot happened in that episode? Well, gee golly whiz, was I jumping the gun. It was a fine episode, but it's definitely one of those episodes where if you were binging it, then it would just kind of blend in with all the rest. They have a lot of scenes of gradually progressing individual storylines, like the scene of Rickon and Natalie, for example, which felt like a scene directly out of my fake episode descriptions. Dylan getting to meet his wife was a big deal, which I was convinced was a setup. I was sure it was going to reveal that she was an actor the whole time. The pictures were doctored, but no, it's legit. It's really her. Still no update on Helly being her outie. I'm holding strong. Do not sell. The one clue I noticed this week is this moment here.
Is that it?
She's playing it off like she just doesn't really remember, even though they found this room together. But if you watch closely, she shows no sign of being familiar with the area and waits for Mark to tell her that they've arrived.
Is that it?
I think so.
Now on to Brienne and her band of barnyard nitwits. I can't imagine they ever go home looking the way they look unless their outies are all meth heads. Obviously the big one this episode is that Mark reintegrates at the end, but my thinking is it's not gonna work, or it's only gonna be temporary, or it will take time for it to kick in. I don't see how they could really retain conflict if Mark is free to come and go as his complete self at any time. I figured the show would end with the characters unsevering, but this is sort of a sign that perhaps the initial status quo as we know it is really just the tip of the iceberg. We think of the entire series as being like season 1 with the 4 coworkers trying to escape their severed workplace, but that could really just be the premise for the first chapter of this much larger story. Speaking of the reintegration, I was really looking forward to seeing how the whole eyeball scalding plotline was gonna play out.
Okay, so you need to see the after image for like 2.5 minutes?
2 minutes, 18 seconds. It's from the parking spot to the elevator.
To me, that's totally on brand for what Severance is when it's at its best. Think of the overtime plot that the team hatches in season 1.
We can do this.
It was an extremely high-stakes heist in which the odds were not in their favor, but that's what made it so exciting. And when Ragabi says to Mark,
"And how was the Indy gonna send you a message back?"
I'm just thinking, yes, it would have been very interesting to see how he did that. It's especially disappointing because the episode started off by teasing us with this plan, then maintaining our interest with the scene between Mark and Devon, ultimately for it just to be nothing.
There's an easier way.
Perhaps we'll revisit it, but as it stands, we have this psychopath to thank for telling Mark to just kind of don't do it. It'd be too interesting, just don't.